discussion. We're going to start with a story, and I want you to try and think of any stories about Emmett, Michael, and Kyle being late.
Oh, we got a lot of good stories about it.
Okay, well, let's start with Emmett, Michael, and Kyle being late. Kevin's on time, though.
Yeah, Kevin! Woo!
So for those who don't know, Emmett, Michael, and Kyle are stuck in a cab or an Uber in traffic, but they're supposedly going to be here shortly, but we're going to keep it moving.
All right, let's get started. We can tell all the stories about them now.
That's a good idea.
You know?
All right. Well, it's actually a good idea. It seems like we should start with both of y'all talking a little bit about what you did before Justin TV and Twitch. In other words, who were you before this happened to your life?
Before Justin TV. So, okay, I'll give you the really quick one. And so, Emmett and I, Emmett was the CEO until earlier this year. You know, it was really the one who came up with the idea of Twitch at our company, Justin TV. We had started a company right out of college. It was a calendar, like Google Calendar. That's back in 2005, before Gmail was that big or anything, but like Google Calendar, but it was worse in every way. So we started this company. We didn't really know anything we were doing. We were college friends with Kevin and Michael. And so they were kind of watching us, and we started this company, and we got funded by this investor called Y Combinator, and that gave us our start back in 2005. We're 22 years old. And then we worked on that for about a year, and it failed. And out of that came the company and idea for Justin TV.
And so with that, we have a video to show. Because I want to set things up.
Oh, shit.
I wanted to set things up before Justin TV started. And now, let's roll the video.
This is professional. They prepared.
Oh.
Just gotta press the laptop. Thanks, sir.
Woohoo! Okay. We're at TwitchCon in Las Vegas, in case you didn't know. Justin TV, the origin story.
Is that a video or just a picture of me in bed?
It's almost supposed to be a video. Isn't someone supposed to... Huh?
In bed.
You guys gotta imagine what I'm doing there.
There we go.
Now you don't have to imagine.
Hi, is this Justin?
Yeah.
How are you? This is David Kavanaugh from Beat TV in New York.
Hey, how's it going?
Alright, I'm sorry it's so early, man. But we got time zone difference. But anyway, there's just a few questions that we were wondering about here. Can you tell me something about the technology? Like, who does it take? How many people does it take to run it? Do you have, like, a staff?
We've got a young four-man team going on a little 5 now, actually.
This is the kind of compelling content that we were focused on back in the day.
Basically on all 24/7.
How does the video actually go from being captured in the lens of your camera to getting on the internet moments later?
We got some box support. It's got like a Sony XU chip in it, and it's kind of like a camera for running around and doing like adventure sports and stuff. Snowboarding or whatever.
What is it like?
I thought all this footage got wiped.
A hard drive? Or is it like how does it
broadcast the results from that one. So we put some custom hardware to do that.
All right. There we go.
That was enough.
Yeah, we saw enough. The thing that I find stunning about this is that other guy was a reporter.
Yeah.
Okay?
He didn't have anything better to do.
Right. You can tell how big Justin TV was at the time because that was the reporter covering you, right?
Yeah. Well, we've all come a long way.
Yes. And so, first of all, I want to thank Justin and Kevin for being here. And Kevin, why don't, since Justin gave his story a little bit before, why don't you go ahead and just, talk about, your thoughts when it all started, when you were before.
Yeah, so I'll pick it up where Justin left off. So they actually sold Kiko Calendar on eBay. As the first and only company, I think still only company we sold on eBay. For both
$258,100.
Returned the money to the investors. You guys pocketed a good amount for 1 year's work. And then I was in San Francisco. I kind of drifted after college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but ended up in San Francisco for a beverage company. And then they drove across country with Michael to start this tech company. which I didn't understand at the time. I was not in tech. And then in 2006, y'all put it out there, end of the year. Started, incorporated the company, raised money. And then we were just hanging out. Like, we would hang out periodically. They would cook dinners at their apartment all the time, their live workspace. All the while, I was sort of curious to see what they're up to. And then I got looped in. I got brought into tech only because of these guys. I had no justification for being there. But in 2008, they recruited me to do operations for them as COO.
Like, tell them how we recruited you.
Oh, yeah.
Louisiana Fried Chicken.
Yeah. Okay, so like it started. Michael called me one day. I was working in a warehouse on Pier 50 in San Francisco for a company called Latina. It's like a just beverage company. And one day Michael calls me and says, "Hey, I need help with some math, like some spreadsheets." And I'm like, "Did I just get a profile?" So I'm like, "Okay, yes, but I'll help you. You have to meet me super early in the morning." And so for a couple of weeks we did this. I researched like, how does the internet work? How does cost work? How do you make money? And we built like basically like a completely bullshit financial forecast for investors.
But it was in a spreadsheet, so
it was
an
old Excel file without collaboration features. And then eventually Michael and Justin, one day, I think this was April 2008, we're like, "Hey, let's go get lunch." And we went right around the corner, 3rd and King, right across from Giant Stadium, at Louisiana Fried Chicken, which is no longer there, sadly, I think.
R.I.P.
And sat down for lunch. And before I could take a bite, Justin looked me right in the eye and was like, "You should have just joined us." And I was like, "Wait a second, like this is kind of unreal because I have no idea like how any of this works. I've only been studying it for an hour a day for 2 weeks." I'm like, "Are you sure?" And Justin said something I'll never forget, which was, and good advice for any aspiring founders out there, or really any partnership that you're looking for, is we're just looking for people that we can trust, that can keep us honest and challenge us. And I was like, "Huh, that sounds interesting. It's way better than my current job." And joined them by May 2008.
You were like hire 8 or something like that?
I think it was Bill, Jacob, and a producer. So no, you guys 4, and then I think Jacob first, then Bill, then Phil on production.
Well, in fact, I'm glad you're, because in fact, I want to take a moment to call out Jacob. And so Jacob, stand up. I always, in having him here, I felt like I should have forced Jacob to come up here.
Oh no!
But
there's extra seats.
Yeah,
Call right up. We want to hear your point of view.
was he hired?
Let's go, Jacob.
Were you number 1, Jacob?
Jacob was number 1.
Jacob was number 1. Come on up, Jacob.
All right,
We need to hear what he was possibly thinking to join this company.
Yeah, so Jacob, what came over? Not only did he join me, but he's the one who's still there. So he's the only one still standing. So what made you do it? And then talk to me about your regrets. No. What were you thinking when they brought you on?
Oh, this is off.
Number 3, please. Mike number 3, right?
Testing. I'm not as loud as Dan, so
I'm gonna have to wait for you. There we go. All right. They can't get me to leave. I'm sorry, guys. It's been a really difficult time. They've been trying really hard to get me to leave, and I refuse to do it. So, in 2006 or 2007, I can't remember. Justin and Emmett, who I've known since, how old were we, Justin?
Like 6, maybe?
5 or 6 years old. We're working on a follow-up startup to Kiko, and they're like, "We're gonna record some video of us just hanging out, but we're thinking about making it a bigger thing, and you studied filmmaking and media, so give us some advice." So I flew out to Seattle and talked to Emmett a little bit, and then flew out to San Francisco to see if I could, see if I could help them, I guess. And I realized that they needed a lot of help with some things. Most of which was thinking about how to design the product. So I made I made an attempt to convince them to hire me to do design, thinking that I might eventually get to do media and video work on their startup. And I've been doing design basically ever since then for the company, because that's what we need. And I guess I'm okay at it because they haven't kicked me out, in addition to me not leaving. So yeah. Did I answer all your questions, Dan?
You got all the questions up there.
Sorry.
You got all the questions, Jacob.
I'm not very good at public speaking. I apologize.
See, since Jacob works for me, he had to come up here.
These guys deserve an award for working. Like, we were the worst managed company on earth. I mean, imagine a company run by a bunch of 22-year-olds who we didn't have any. There was theoretically, I think Michael was the first CEO, but we never decided things like in aggregate. It was horrible. Jacob can testify that.
I can tell you, I got to know him very well when he's in, I guess, his upper 30s and 40s. I can't even imagine 22.
My general what I say to this is that it's not bad management if there is no management.
There just wasn't any.
There wasn't any. We didn't know how to manage each other.
All right, so Justin, let's go with the the most obvious question to kick it all off. When you first thought of this and you first did that video, right? Talk about what at that point, what were you thinking the future was? What you were creating?
Well, so what happened was the way we started the company, Justin TV, was we had this other company that failed and we sold it on eBay. And our investor, Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, was like, why don't you guys start another company? And we were like, it was very surprising that he thinks we should start another company, considering this one kind of just failed and we had to like YOLO it on eBay. But that's amazing, like we should start another company. And so Emmett and I went over to his house and we pitched him this idea for kind of like a page layout software online. So if you had like online blog articles, you could lay them out on the web and then print a book. And then he was like, he was a writer online, he got a blog, and he was like, I would never use that, it's a dumb idea. Like in the first 5 minutes, he was just like, that's dumb. What else? And then we're like, what else? We didn't really have a backup idea. But I had this idea that I was like, I'd been thinking about when we were trying to sell our startup, like the calendar one, which was like, I wanted to make a live show of, like, here's how it came about. It was like, we were making this calendar, we met this calendar, and Emmett and I would talk about ways we could possibly... Woo-hoo! All right. Get up here.
We have three of them coming in.
Yeah, I think you got to stand up there.
Say Mike's. All right.
And then, Jacob, can we turn on the question Q&A? Jacob? Yeah. All right, we got Emmett Shear. We got Michael Seibel. Go sit on the side. Woo! And Kyle Oak. If you like Twitch, you should be applauding. If you don't like Twitch, stay silent. All right.
Keep going, Justin.
All right, okay. So I'm talking origin story, how we came up with Justin TV, which was like we had this company, so we were pitching Paul on this idea, and then while we were selling Kiko, our last company, Emmett and I would have all these talks about ways we could pivot the business. And we thought we were like super business geniuses because we're 22. And so I was like, we should make these into a podcast or something, like a business podcast.
Yeah.
And then,
but the people want to hear our conversations.
Yeah, of course. We're so smart. People want to hear our conversations. But then we were like, we don't know when we're gonna. We live together, and we work together. So we have these conversations like at random times during the day or at dinner or whatever. We were like, we don't know when we're having this conversation, so we should have a live 24/7 audio stream of everything that happens between us.
It's too much work. It's too much work to sit down and record a podcast for like 45 minutes a day.
Yeah.
So we should record everything 24/7 instead. That will be easier.
Yeah. So then we were like, well, what if it was video too? So then it was like, we should have a live 24/7 video stream of our lives, like what we're doing.
It's kind of like you wanted to go from one bad idea to another bad idea.
Yeah. And so when we went and pitched Paul on this idea for like this other thing, and he was like, that sucks. He was like, what other ideas do you have? And I'm like, well, I have this idea for this thing called Justin TV. It's this live 24/7 video stream of my life to the internet. And he was like, okay, tell me more. And basically we were like, well, there's no social media at the time. It's before Twitter or before Instagram or anything like that. So we're like, we think people are interested in people, and you can have this window in people's lives, and blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, this is like a new form of internet entertainment. I was right, actually.
It'll be new reality TV.
I was right. I was like, there's a new form of internet entertainment. People are going to watch each other stream their lives. And so he was like, he believed it, and we walked out there with a check for $50,000. And then that was it. It was on.
Well, I think you left out the quote where Robert Morris is in the room. He's one of the other founders of Y Combinator. And I think his quote was, I will fund this just to watch you make fools of yourselves. Which was also a true statement at the same time.
Yeah. So then we recruited Kyle and Michael in various ways. Basically, we had no idea how to build it. So we were like, okay, how do we figure out how to build a hardware device that could stream to the internet? Because there was no iPhone, right, at the time. So we're like, what type of person would know about this? It's like someone who went to MIT.
One of those smart MIT guys. That's what we need. Smart MIT programmers.
So we cold emailed this emailing list of MIT students. And I was like, describe what we want to build. We were like, can anybody build this? We have this successful startup that we just exited. So we know what we're doing. I think Kyle was one of two.
Did you buy that, Kyle?
What did you think? Well, look, when I saw that you guys had sold a company before, I was like, these guys are successful entrepreneurs. They're probably driving around in Ferraris. Like, I want to work with them and learn from them. And I think it was probably the inverse was true too. But no, it's an interesting technical challenge, and so that got me interested. But then, finding fellow entrepreneurs was really exciting. They definitely had energy. I'll give them that.
Yeah, high energy. That's how we recruited Michael too, which is really Michael, why don't you just come with us? We're going to drive across the country. It'll be fun. How was the drive across the country, Michael? Was it fun?
Well, I had to plan it.
Tell them the whole story. You got to start. You got to give people context. So, Emmett and I were like, we're gonna move. We were start our first company in Boston, which we didn't like that much. And then we were like, we got to start the next company in Silicon Valley, like where everything's happening, the heart of tech. And so we sold all our shit, and we're like gonna move with that $50,000 check. We're gonna move to Silicon Valley now. And I emailed my list of friends from college, like, goodbye, motherfuckers, I'm moving to Silicon Valley. And then Michael responded and was like, I want to come on the trip.
Yeah, not the company.
Yeah, he was like, I want to come on the trip. And so he thought it was like a vacation, like a road trip. But
It was a road trip.
Yeah.
We drove across the country in like less than 4 days.
It was 4.5 days.
4.5 days?
Yeah.
4.5 days.
Leisurely
Drive across the country at like 10 to 11 hours of driving a day.
And so then Michael came with us, and then when he was there, we got there, he was like, where are we going to stay? We drive into San Francisco, and it's like beautiful. It's Fleet Week. It's October.
It's like right now. Yeah.
Like right now, the weather right now, there's Blue Angels are flying over the city, and it's like really amazing. And then we drove 40 minutes south to the suburbs and stayed in my friend's basement, my cousin's basement.
In Mountain View. Really, really not the nicest, but yeah, it's fine.
And so then Michael was like, well, what are you gonna do? I was like, we gotta figure out how to start a company and figure out someplace to live. And I'm like 22 years old, so we're like, how do you rent an apartment?
These are the experienced entrepreneurs Pat was talking about.
I think we need an apartment, but
and we need a bank account to cash this check.
Hey, Michael, what are you doing today?
No, they didn't ask me. I felt pity. They were just typing in a basement in Mountain View, and I was like, it would be really bad if they took me on this vacation and I didn't do anything to help them before going home and never participating in this thing again. So that was the least I could do was help find an apartment and open a bank account.
And so we started, helping us, and we're like, man, this guy's really useful to have. We need who's gonna open the bank account, and there's gonna be like taxes and someone's got to make a financial model or something.
Have to hire someone.
By the way, this is why I then recruited Kevin.
We covered that. We covered that story already before you guys showed up. So then, as Michael was leaving, he was set to go back to his job and his life in Washington D.C. And I remembered I took him to the airport and I was like, yo, you gotta join our company. Just fucking quit your job.
What did I say, Justin?
Join our company. And he was like, no thanks. He got on the plane and he was like. Anyways, and then whatever.
Wait, now Michael, did you have a job at this time?
Not only did I say no, I didn't have a job.
All right.
So he got on the plane and he left, and he was like, I'm never gonna join this company. And then how did you get convinced?
Well, then Justin emailed me Kyle's magical PDF. Do you want to describe this PDF, Kyle?
Please.
So Kyle built this 17-page spec of a camera he was going to build.
He hadn't joined the company yet, by the way.
No, he hadn't built the camera either, but it was beautiful drawings. And he said I could build one of these for like 5,000, but I could, he's already scaled it up, and he's like, I could build like 20 of these for this much money. And Justin forwards me this PDF, and I just remember thinking, well, yeah, I fell in a year. I was like, well, they do have this PDF.
Experienced entrepreneurs with like PDFs.
And $50,000. I know they have $50,000. I opened the bank.
And they seem really confident. Like they really think they can do this.
Yeah, and so then I moved.
And then we told you that we were going to move. Don't worry, you're only moving here temporarily. We're going to move to New York.
Yeah, they lied.
Remember, we were thinking of it as like a new kind of reality TV, and like we're like, we can't run our reality television show from like San Francisco. It's going to obviously we have to run it from New York. Don't worry, Michael. 6 months from now, we'll be in New York City running a reality television show. It's going to be just like MTV Real World, but in Manhattan.
Which is a good pitch, but a lie.
Yeah, that did not happen.
All right, so now get to Kyle finally deciding to take the step.
All right, I can set this one up. So one of my first business jobs was to figure out how to get Kyle some hardware shipped to his house over Christmas, and how to buy him a plane flight. These are the business skills I was very valuable for, so that he could fly out during the 1 month MIT break. So what did you tell your parents you were doing?
Well, it's like they get a month off, so you can go. Some people do research projects, some people stick around on campus. It's cool. And so I was like, I'm just going to go to San Francisco and work with these guys for a month, and then I'll go back and pick up where I left.
And your parents being two techies, they were like, this is totally chill, right?
They were fine with that. 1 month seems okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine with that. Well, you bought me a one-way plane ticket. Don't worry, at the end of the month we'll figure out, when you should go back.
In my defense, you didn't know when MIT was. I think you might have suspected you weren't going back. Is that fair?
How circular this whole thing is. More suspicious to me now. No, it was a one-way plane ticket. Came out, had a great time with these guys. Built the camera.
Well, wasn't there one cultural moment that really convinced you that this was the team to work with, that involved perhaps Justin getting locked up?
Was that a positive moment?
Yes.
Yes. You want to tell that story, Kyle?
Yeah, I'll try to recount that one. So, the camera was working pretty well at this point. You could turn it on and broadcast, and we were just testing it. I think at this point, it wasn't public.
Talk about what was tricky about the camera.
Well, this is before an iPhone, and so the state of technology at this point in time is, if you remember going to a website and you'd have to click a real player plug-in and it would spin. Okay, so that's not it. So that was the website.
All those people are as old as we are.
Yeah.
Like throwback Shockwave days.
Shockwave, Windows Media Player, all those plugins. So that's the web page side, which is awful. So we tried to work around that. And then on the hardware side, there was no iPhones. Cell phones were like flip phones that just had texting and really bad mobile browsers. So to do a live video stream was really hard. And so we basically put a Linux computer and a bunch of cell phone modems, 3 of them, in a backpack, so that it could blast video packets across multiple cellular networks and try to reassemble it into a stream. So it was pretty cool technology, given the hilarity of what we did with it.
I mean, the amount of intelligent and well-engineered, amazing thing that Justin wore on his back and then got taken by the police was somewhat shocking.
All right, so let's get to the taken by police.
Yeah, okay, so we were like, we gotta convince this kid to stay here and not go back to college.
Best setup ever.
It was we were like, I'm like, my one skill set is to convince people who are much better than me at doing things that they should do them, which is very valuable. And so I already had Emmett, and then we were like, we got Michael, we convinced Michael to come out by sending him a PDF. And then we were like, now we gotta convince, it was kind of a balancing act. So we convinced Michael with Kyle's PDF, and then we're like, now we gotta use Michael to convince Kyle. And so Kyle shows up, and we're like, okay, we gotta, he's in college, we gotta go do some fun things. He's not gonna quit college to go work in an office or something. So
we didn't have an office.
So we were like, let's make, we were making the camera during the day. And he actually, to Kyle's credit, he made this hardware camera in 3 months or whatever. That actually worked, 5% of the time. And so then we were like, let's So we went out, we'd go out, like, it was like Wednesday night.
And we had to test the idea for the show, because we're making a new kind of reality TV, so you have to see what it's like to take the camera and like go out to a bar.
Yeah, it's
and
kind of like work.
It's almost like going out to the bar was basically our job.
That was our, exactly. So we went out, we took the camera, put it on this hat cam, and then we started streaming. And we first didn't want to go out, I drank a lot. I don't drink anymore, but I used to really like to drink. So we drank way too much, and then we went out.
It's always a good idea. If you hire our stream, that's always the best way to do it.
And so then we went and we ended up at this bar in North Beach in San Francisco, and then we had this camera, and the bartender at one point was like, "What is that?" And we were explaining, "Oh, we're having this new form of reality TV. We're streaming to the internet." And he's like, "You can't stream in here." It was like I was the original Glassful. You know? I was like, I'm just streaming like to the internet, and he's like, "You can't do that." And there's like football players in here who want privacy. Like, I don't think there were any, but they could have been. They could have been. He was like, "You can't, stream there." And then, I'm like, okay, I took it off.
And who did you hand it to?
Handed it to my friend, Steve Huckman, our friend, who's the founder of Reddit.
Worst person to hand it to.
And then we went back and we're enjoying ourselves. People are talking to other people, making friends. And then Steve puts his hat on, he goes back up to the bar, and he's like, "Hey, I want another round of drinks." And the guy was like, "I told your friend you can't have that on." And instead of, like, I'm very, compliant, I polite, took it off. Steve was like, "You can't tell me what to do." You can't tell me what to do. And then it got into an argument, and eventually the bartender's like, "I'm not going to give you your credit card back unless you, take that off." And then Steve just grabs it out of his hand and walks out of the bar, drunkenly. And walks up the street. Anyways, then police got involved because he was like...
Well, then he has a pang of conscience. He's like, "Oh, maybe I didn't pay." So he turns around and he walks back. He doesn't actually intend to dine and dash. He's just doesn't want him to hold the credit card hostage. I was watching this from inside as it happened. So it was very confusing. Like, what's going on with them out the door? And I see Steve walk back and you walk back up. And then I see two police officers. And I'm like, this doesn't seem good.
Well, this was the best part of the story. So then... the police officers have decided to arrest Steve, who's wearing our company.
Well, so he's talking to the police officer. The police are like, you have to do what I say. That's one of the cops says, "You have to do what we say." And he said, "No, I don't." They were like, we are filling our quota of drunk arrests, and they start arresting him. And then I'm looking at this with wearing our prototype camera, one of a kind, that Kyle spent months making, and I was like, "No, we can't let this happen." And so I was like, "If you're arresting him, you should be arresting me."
Just like you said to the police, they kind of are like, "Oh, okay." I guess if you say so.
Well, I thought that you were trying to kind of inspire civil unrest.
Yeah, it was like Spartacus.
Like, you can't arrest all of us.
They can, in fact, just arrest.
Well, there's no one else volunteering to be arrested.
That's strangely.
Yeah. So they put us in the back of the police van and drive us off, and then these guys are left. Like, what happened?
And we're trying to chase them around
No.
town.
I was there. I saw what happened. I was like, now our camera's gone.
They wound up in
It
Essex.
seems like they were a little more worried about the camera than the two of them arrested.
Our friends are going to be fine. They're smart guys. But the camera is hard to replace. And we did manage to get it out of evidence eventually. Although I did get a phone call from my friend. This is when I knew, actually, this night, one of the nights where I knew this thing could be big, it could work. Because as they're being taken away in the paddy wagon, I get up, my phone buzzes. And it's one of my college friends calling me who've been watching the beta stream. And I pick up the phone, I'm like, "Hello?" He's like, "Did Justin just get arrested?" And I'm like, "Oh my God. It works. It works. This is real. That's cool. This is cool." And I don't think we had another moment that interesting or cool for at least 6 months.
No. The swatting?
Oh, it's true. There were other ones, but they didn't come that often, but I remember that moment really thinking this whole live thing happening where you're streaming stuff happening and people can actually tune in and watch it. Maybe this is going to be an actual thing. Because before that I sort of thought it was it seemed like a funny stunt.
So yeah. Kyle, why did that convince you?
I was in college, so I wanted to have some fun. But there was an interesting thread in here, which was deep commitment, if you want to call it that, to this cause that you guys had thrown together haphazardly. But the commitment thing, I think, was really important. It did carry through the whole rest of the business. So that was really cool. And when Emmett got that text and realized there were people watching and it worked, I think the camera was still streaming from the evidence room.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. So there was just like enough intrigue there that I was like, okay, we got to see what happens here, see where this goes.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, so we evidently know the next story we have to hear because I heard something about swatting. So let's go to that story.
We're hanging out in our apartment, programming. It's really hot in San Francisco. We're all just like days from the heat. And we heard bang, bang, bang at the door.
No. First we launched it.
We launched it. That was just even launched.
That was the demo,
yeah.
right? We had the demo, and then a couple months later, we're like, okay, we're going to launch this show.
And it's been running for a little bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't day one.
It was day 4. I remember exactly, because we've had an everyday program, and on day 4, so we launched it, and we had a week's worth of content program. Like ideas of they were lame ideas, but they were ideas. Like I went to visit some startups and like play poker or some things that were like, in retrospect, not very entertaining or funny. But like at a certain point, we launched it, and then all these people on the internet were like, "What is this stream? We need to why is this guy doing this? This is weird. Is there interesting?" And they would log on, and then they'd be like, "This is fucking boring. These guys are non-entertaining." It was like they saw this clip. They played the clip before you guys showed up of me in my bed.
Yeah.
And it's like it was like that most of the time. And then on day 4, they decided to take matters in their own hands.
Yeah. And so you hear this bang, bang, bang at the door. And it opened up, it's the police, and we're like, "Go away, Brazina," because one of our friends, we just like we mess with each other. And so the sort of thing like them knocking on your door and claiming it was the police, that's something one of our friends would have done. And the police officer kind of sounded like one of our friends, but it was not one of our friends. And I think, did you open the door?
Yeah, I opened the door.
I thought Kyle opened the door.
Oh yeah. Kyle opened the door.
Kyle opens the door.
Yeah, what were you thinking?
Well, my hardware desk was right by the door.
Yeah.
Hacked on the hardware there. But yeah, so I remember exactly that. It sounded like Rosina, and so I swing the door open real fast, and there's a gun pointed right at my face. Yeah.
And then they walk in, and there's a gun pointed at all of us for like...
I wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there. Michael was not in the room.
No.
That's like the first time I had a gun pointed at me, like by someone who was worried I was a threat.
Was it the last time?
I don't know if it's happened again.
So many more memories of that.
Find us later to hear those stories.
So then they obviously we were 3 nerds sitting around in like our underwear working on like this camera, so they left. But it was like kind of eye-opening. We'd never been swatted before. We were like, "Oh my God, should we be doing this?"
Yeah. But then we just kept doing it.
But we kept doing it anyway.
Okay, so tell me about how it went from this one camera and then the transition where the idea of other people live streaming and all that, right?
Well, Paul had sort of known this was coming because in the very first conversation, he's like, "Oh, well, after you do Justin, you'll get a bunch of other people to stream, not just Justin." And we're like, "Yeah, totally." Although we didn't really have a plan to do that. And he was right because he correctly perceived that, in fact, we would not be that interesting. And so our biggest problem was people would come to watch us and our show was boring. But other people were like, "But I want to do that." And so we wound up opening it up basically because we had overwhelming inbound interest from people who wanted to become streamers.
But now, how did they do it technically, given that y'all had to spend so much on this one week?
The whole hardware thing turned out to be a total red herring and completely unnecessary because within 6 months, we figured out a way to do it with just one laptop and a webcam and an video card. All that was all totally unnecessary.
So you're saying Kyle's genius was unnecessary?
Well, no, we didn't want up needing Kyle's genius to go build the video CDN network that powered the actual hard problem, it turned out, which was distributing the video to everybody. But the whole hardware thing that we thought we needed was just totally a bust, totally irrelevant. We just gave them laptops. It was super easy.
So let's do this right now. Anybody who was here, either streaming or watching during the Justin TV days, go ahead and stand up or raise your hand. Okay, stand up. Oh, we got a lot of y'all here.
That's scary.
All right, now, so all of y'all were here. Anyone who streamed them, keep standing up. In other words, if you streamed on Justin TV. All right, let's give it up for this group.
Thank you.
So talk about that then, about people like it growing. Talk about the growth and how that kind of started taking on a life.
We basically we opened it up over the period of 6 months to be a platform for people to stream, which lots of people thought was the whole master plan the whole time, but
Never.
Yeah, we didn't really thought about opening up to other people until it turns out our show was really bad. And had like the retention, like people would come and see me sleeping and they'd be like, I don't need to watch this. So we were like, okay, as a last ditch effort, like let's let other people stream, and then other people started making all sorts of different streams. They would make like, they had more interesting lives, or they'd make like a talk show, or like stream their sporting event or whatever. And then we turned it into a platform that let anybody stream. And that was Justin TV, and then we launched it. We opened that up in October 2007, and that's kind of what we were for the next 3 years.
And did you talk about Kevin joining?
We already talked about selling him in Louisiana fried chicken.
Nice.
Because he was from Louisiana, so we were like, we gotta get him at his home turf.
Also, the restaurant was 1 block away from our office.
I mean, you like fried chicken.
I do. Who doesn't?
All right, let's do this. A lot of times when we do these things, I ask all the questions and then we take 5 minutes at the end. Throughout this, if anyone wants to ask a question, I know someone did earlier, feel free to walk up to the microphone as I'm asking questions, and we'll just go back and forth. So that way, if you want to ask a question, walk up to the microphone. I'll see you up there, and you can just ask it whenever. Okay? All right.
Don't be shy.
Yeah. There we go. We got one right here.
Yeah.
Hi. Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
So yeah, I guess my question is Paul Graham often talks about making something that people want, and I'm curious. Another thing that he often says that it's often easy to, in retrospect, see how something works and how awesome, great it is. But when you're in that time and in that time period, it's often much harder to see. So my question is how did you actually get that motivation to keep going? How did you know that this was going to be a huge thing? How did you persevere through a lot of the dips and turns in order to make it here? And then adding in the additional complication of how did finances impact that as well?
I think there's probably 2 answers, one more about Justin TV and then one about Twitch, and we should probably answer both. Like for Justin TV, I don't think we really knew that there was a core insight that I think was right. This is like before social media, and I had this insight that people were interested in people.
No, not people. Justin had the correct insight. He wanted to be famous. Justin wanted to run a live video stream of his own life and be an internet personality. That sounded like a good idea. And you know what? Justin is not alone. There's a bunch of people in this room who also thought, it'd be a fun thing to do with my life is go be an internet personality and live stream myself. And that insight was actually, at the time, we never framed it that way, but that was the thing that we were doing that was actually good. Was we were serving Justin as a customer. He wanted to be kind of fit, and it worked. We did become famous.
And so then we kind of didn't pay attention to that insight for years.
Yep, not at all.
And then finally when we were kind of working on Twitch internally, Emmett and Kevin kind of formed a new set of hypotheses about people streaming video games and wanting to stream video games, and that we should focus on the gaming streamers.
Okay, we're going to get to that one in a second. Let's go ahead and just we'll hear you.
Just to answer your question real quick about why do we not give up? I think those are the essence of your question. The answer to that is it seemed inconceivable that we would surrender, and I don't really know why. There wasn't great data or evidence to suggest that we were on to something big. Only just maybe barely a leak enough to keep us going, but really just bloody-mindedness, I guess.
Persistence matters. And ignorance.
Hey guys, I was there during the early days of Justin.tv, and I really do appreciate it. Just a tech geek. But I remember there was this moment for you guys where Justin.tv was competing with Ustream and some of the challenges around that. And I know you guys had really, in my opinion, won that battle. Can you kind of talk to that just from a business sense and what happened there, and kind of unveil a little bit of what really made you guys successful over some of these other, what I saw as competitor, and maybe there wasn't any competition. I don't know. But
well, no, there was a lot of competition. Yeah. We hated Ustream.
I know you did.
And live streaming. They were, to be honest, executing a lot better in a lot of ways. Like I think they had a lot of features before us, and they had all the like celebrities. They did better, kind of creating like a like celebrity team and getting all these celebrity streams. And I think what worked really was just focusing it down. It turns out like game streaming was a really good market and focusing on it.
I think that the number one thing we did actually is we hired this guy.
Yes, I agree with that.
Because like the reason why we were winning against Ustream and eventually against Own3D when we were to Twitch is that our cost of streaming was like a third, a quarter what theirs was, because we'd done the very difficult work of building our own in-house like back end to do the video delivery, and it's like it's not sexy, it's not cool, but it meant that like we could persist. When 2008 happened and we like ran out of money, and like everyone was running out of money because you couldn't raise money anymore. We could last longer, we could get profitable more easily, the underlying economics worked better, and I think that's like, probably, weirdly, that's the most important part of the story from Justin TV, is building a live video distribution system that was very cheap. Like, good enough, like kind of okay, but very cheap.
Lean startup. You guys are the bug.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Hey, it's cool to hear that swatting started on day 4. My question is, in those first 4 days, like, how did you even get attention? Like, who was even popping into that stream to just like have it happen so quick?
It was immediate. We were just like on the news immediately. Because remember at the time, no one had ever done this before, and so at the time it was like a news story that someone was doing it. Like you were on what was it, Good Morning America or something?
Yeah, it was like on a bunch of news immediately.
Did you guys have any connects in media, or was that just like someone?
No, kind of people just discussed. We were on Tech. We had one connect to TechCrunch, which was like small at the time, because TechCrunch was interested in these Y Combinator companies, so they made a blog coinciding with our launch. We were like, they're going to do a launch article. But they launched the launch article at midnight of the day instead of 9 a.m. So the first 9 hours of our stream was just me sleeping. And then I got up and like did stuff, but it was just not a...
So when you got up and the good stuff got going. Like making breakfast.
Brushing my teeth, like lots of quality moments.
All right.
Hello guys, I came all the way from Argentina to see for first time in Vegas, first time for a TwitchCon. For me it's a pleasure to be here. And actually one of the things I bring the most to our partner manager there is Ignacio, RG, is that we need some way to bring new ideas to Twitch platform, some way. We have many people, many creators from tech, from fashion, from whatever the field is. And we don't have a place where partners or affiliates can bring new ideas.
Let me do this. Since that, go ahead and come up to me afterwards. I think it's a great question, but I want to focus on Justin TV and the early days.
We don't run the company.
Huh?
Yeah.
That's fine.
All right, great.
Hello, I'm not sure if it's the right place to suggest this, but I was wondering, for those of us who made accounts during the Justin.tv timeframe, is it possible for us to get like a special Justin.tv badge for our names?
That's a great idea. Dan's all over it, and just follow up with him afterwards.
Everybody wants their badges.
I'm sure he's going to find the resources for that. Yeah, in all seriousness, I actually think it's a great idea. It's something we talked about before. I think it's one of those things where it's always competing against other features people need. But I want one of those. I feel like Justin really should have one. Number one badge.
Number one. Right. We've talked about something like that.
Okay.
So let's.
Sorry, hard for me to get around. So I just wanted to thank y'all for what all y'all done, because I started out with literally real audio, podcast, Live 365, you, Justin, the whole 9 yards. And, we're going to have trials and tribulations as we go forward. And it's great to, see everyone. I always come by and hear the story every time. And, just thank y'all for what y'all done for us so far.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Let's give it up for that.
So one thing that's standing out to me when listening to you guys. You all have amazing chemistry with each other. You guys seem you're all very interesting people. The way you tell the story of how everything came together is very captivating. But there's one thing that keeps coming to my mind when listening to you guys, which is the team that was assembled, the group of you together. And the thing that I want to know is, how was it that you were able to put together such a solid team? Were there other people that you had looked at along the way that had to be let go? Were there what kind of issues and trials did you have to go through to get like the perfect team, or did you just get lucky and kind of get everybody together?
I feel like we got really lucky.
We got really lucky, and it took a really long time. And I think actually, everybody, all of the people on the stage are like very self-confident and their power now, I would say. But in 20 years ago, or whenever we started this 15 years ago, it wasn't like that. Actually, more than 15. It was like 17 years ago. And so, you're seeing a lot of people who have done a lot of self-growth and have, learned a lot of skills. But in the beginning, we were just 22, 23-year-olds who didn't really know what we were doing, had no work experience, no management experience, no experience running a business, and we're just kind of figuring it out. And I think what we did really well was we identified people who were very motivated to figure it out, and we were very persistent, and we always thought we could do it.
Between me and Justin, we know each other since we were 8, and we worked on a bunch of projects together. I was very confident working with Justin on the first startup. Oh, this will be good. I know what it's like. It's not a surprise. But I think in bringing Michael and Kyle onto the team at the very beginning, Kiko wasn't successful, Justin TV was. I think adding them was key for that. But how did we know that was the right people to add to the team? And honestly, we did get very lucky. I don't know that there's a lesson to be learned other than select the smartest, hardest working people who you think are going to be really persistent with you. But I think everyone tries to do that, and we just happen to have gotten pretty lucky at it.
All right, thanks guys. I think it also really took a long time for people to figure out what they were doing, what they're good at, and eventually these guys went on to be very successful. Michael now runs Y Combinator, Kyle runs co-founded Cruise, the self-driving car company. That's really awesome. You should try it. It's in multiple cities now. And Emmett has runs Twitch, for the last 10 years, and I'm a successful YouTube vlogger.
Well, you're a famous internet personality, right? That's what you really want.
But it took a long time for people to figure out what they're really good at.
All right, and let's do this. Let's go with these three, and then I have some questions I want to make sure we get to. So these three, and then...
Hi there. So I was a Justin TV user to stream a video gaming podcast I've been doing for a very long time, and I'm sure I'm not the first one to kind of ironically note that Justin TV kind of made this pivot from being IRL to just video games, and then, kind of open back up to IRL streaming at some point. So I'm kind of curious, number one, what made y'all decide to kind of pivot back into IRL? And was there anything that you learned from the Justin TV time that you wanted to kind of implement that kind of second go around, so to speak?
So I was sort of responsible for the decision to pivot to have a separate product that was just gaming and to really be focused on saying it's just gaming. And the reason we did that was not that I thought the other content wasn't valuable, but that what I learned is that people, when they heard live video, had all these assumptions about what would come with that. And the things we'd been doing on Justin TV hadn't necessarily helped that point of view. And so by pivoting to say just gaming, we simplified things for people so they could understand it as, oh, that's what this is about, watching people play video games, esports, I got it. But it was always my intent that we would eventually open it back up. There's actually very extensive debates. Should we even pivot? Should Twitch actually just be gaming, or should we just focus on acquiring gaming content and allow it to be just a new brand? And I think we made the right decision. I think that simplicity of the messaging was very important. But there's always been other great stuff you can stream, and we didn't. It came down to how do you explain it to people more than any kind of strategic decision.
And we kind of slow rolled it too, right? At first, what we were seeing from the gaming creators was there are these huge loading screens, particularly for games like League of Legends, and for sometimes 30 to 60 minutes. And people might bust out a guitar or turn the camera towards a painting canvas and start doing that. And there was this kind of conundrum within the community of, should this be allowed? Isn't this just gaming? Twitch was meant to be a home for gamers. And so we had to discuss this internally to decide how do we do this. And so we slowly rolled that into Twitch Creative as a subcategory within Twitch, and then eventually full-blown IRL. But I think a big part of it, and going back to some of the startup questions earlier, one of the biggest things of this pivot was talking to customers, like actually learning and understanding that the creator was our core customer. Because before it was kind of hard. We had viewers, we had creators, we had brands that we were working with. There's all these different voices that were telling us, here's the things that we want. And it wasn't until really focusing down on the creator sort of community and their desires to really help us build Twitch in the first place.
All right.
So my question is, we all know the obvious hurdles for doing startup business and stuff like that, money and tech and that kind of stuff. I'm just wondering, what is something that maybe people don't know was a really difficult hurdle getting Justin TV on its feet?
We almost died. Not astonished as a company. That was a difficult hurdle. Yeah. Basically, at some point, VC stopped wanting to fund us, and we had to make the company profitable. And that was probably the story that was rarely told, was that there was a moment where we had to all sit there and say, are we going to let this thing die, or are we going to resurrect it? And I think that was, and when I look back, kind of one of the coolest moments, because once we figured out how to make the thing profitable, I think we actually felt like we could do anything. We probably felt we could do anything at any point, but I think that was more justified then.
So Mike, this is one of the questions I wanted to bring up, because I'm curious, because so I know Emmett knows this, most of y'all don't know this, so I was running product and engineering at YouTube the first time.
Oh, no way.
Yes, okay. And so for those who don't know, I was running product engineering, and we were talking about doing YouTube Live, and we talked about acquiring Just a TV, and so they all came in, and at the time, it wasn't a big acquisition, so the person responsible for making the decision was below me, okay?
Thank God for that person.
The person was below me, and they had a deal kind of in hand, right?
Yeah.
And then they did the interviews, and Google was very egocentric in those days. And there were always, and I find it hilarious, especially given what all the founders have gone on to do. But Google, they went through the interviews, and then I heard, oh yeah, we interviewed them. We don't think it's a good fit. We don't think we quite meet up to our standards.
Yeah, we were told that less than half of our employees qualified to work at Google.
And of course, that was probably, you five were happy employees.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how that happened. When that happened, right? How much was how did that fit into this need to get profitable? In other words, how close was it? How disappointing was that? And bring me through to Twitch.
Was that before we got profitable? It was after, right?
That was before we got profitable, I think.
Yeah, I think it was.
We interviewed. We had a deal in hand. They were going to pay like $20 million.
It was 50. It was 50 million. I remember.
It was 35.
And then they brought it down to 35.
Yes.
50, and they took it down because we're only going to pay for the good engineers.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And so then when they walked away, it was pretty devastating because we're still pretty young. We thought we were going to get paid, and we were like, wait, what? And so we had to really. That was a great moment though, because from there we got profitable, and then eventually we were like, we need to figure out what to do.
I gotta be honest, I wasn't that down for that. It wasn't. No.
You had to be conflicted.
No offense. The YouTube interview didn't really impress me.
No.
I wasn't feeling like, oh God, not only are they biased, they're going to kill us. It was very much like,
yes.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I think one of the things that people often think that these things that happen were going to happen anyway, right? But that's not the way the world actually transpires.
There's absolutely a world where the guy running the deal, whoever it was, or woman running the deal, whoever, they're no, we really like this team. This is the right move for YouTube. And they offer us the full amount and want to close really fast. And we're like, oh yeah, sure, let's do it. Yeah. And then Twitch never exists.
Right.
It's a pretty reasonable, there's at least 20% of the universes that could exist if that happens.
Yes, and then, because I know I was at Google, and all of you would have left within whatever your earn-out period was. Okay? Because it would have been, and they would have started YouTube Live, but YouTube Live wouldn't have been any different because the dream they had and all that, they would have been, all right, when I'm going to earn out. And the other platforms, live stream and all the other ones you stream, they wouldn't have become Twitch. They weren't the same as Twitch, and it's truly the case, nothing like Twitch would exist today, and live streaming wouldn't exist the way it does today. You know?
So thank God for people pulling out deals at the last minute.
Yeah. And thank God I didn't overrule. Okay. All right, so now let's go ahead and see how much time we've got. We only have like 4 more minutes. So let's talk now then about Twitch and Twitch taking off, right? About that magic and what that was like when the magic started happening and everything started clicking.
We had a VC come by and tell us basically Justin TV is a dead business. Like, you guys aren't growing, and that's like that on the internet, that means you're dying. And we realized in our hearts that he was right. That we had to do something new and different. And we had a few different ideas what to go do about it, and we debated them. But we decided we would do, classically again, doing something I would tell every other startup, never do this, but it worked out great for us, which is we'll just pursue both of them in parallel with like half the team, with a third of the team. We'll let another third of the team to work on Justin TV, and we'll just like we'll do the opposite of focus. But then Michael spun off Social Cam, which sold to Autodesk like 9 months later for like $60 million or something, and we all got a little bit of money, which made us much more confident. And then the Twitch took off, and Justin TV running that helped fund Twitch. It's like actually everything we did made sense, and it all worked out. But like, I would never tell someone to do it. I think we got lucky. I don't understand.
Yes, lucky, yes.
Yeah, lucky. I think lucky is probably what happened there. But like, the Twitch thing wasn't totally luck. The Twitch thing was actually because I really, really, really love StarCraft. Like more than you could imagine. And so when StarCraft 2 was coming out, the beta was happening, and I was so excited to watch the pros play the beta. And it happened to be my website, Justin TV, had pros playing StarCraft. And so for the first time ever, I really loved our content. Like, I enjoyed our content just to be sometimes. There's some occasions where nice.
No, you did.
No. I like soccer. But I didn't love anything on Justin TV. I loved this stuff. And I was like, I have normie taste. I like Taylor Swift. I like things that are popular. I don't believe I'm that weird. I think that other people probably like this too. And then I think the other realization that was really, really key was that almost no one was streaming gaming. And I went out and looked at all of our competitors and us, and I realized there was only 200 people in the whole world who were doing any kind of live gaming streaming that like had any audience at all, who like mattered even a little bit. And I realized that we could just convince those 200 people that we were the best place to stream, we would win. It was as simple as that. This thing could be big because it's fun to watch, and if we just get all the streamers, we win. And so the strategy became really straightforward, which is sort of, I'm going to try to make the product something people would want to use, and Kevin's going to convince everyone to use it. And like that basically did work. And I don't think that was the first non-luck based thing that happened. At least, I don't know, maybe you guys did some non-luck based thing before that that I wasn't personally involved in at Justin TV or Kiko. That was the first non-luck based piece of success I think that we had in the 5 years.
But actually, I think Kyle building the videos.
Oh, Kyle hiring the smart kid from MIT.
Walk into me.
To build the good videos. That was also not luck. That was design.
Right.
So two. We had two good moves.
All right. Well, since it's 4 o'clock and I know they don't like us going over, thank you all for being here. Okay, and let's give it up for them. I want to note for all of you, I think this is the first time this group has all been at TwitchCon together.
Yes.
Okay, so you're all here. I appreciate y'all for coming. And before everyone comes up to talk to them, I want to get a picture with all of them together. Okay.
And come to the DJ at the after party.
That's right.
I made them give me a DJ slot in order to do this panel.
Yes.
I do have to say that. Actually,
he's actually very good.
No, not just Justin. In fact, actually, you undersold yourself as a VTuber. YouTuber, vlogger. You're really a DJ.
Yes.
And when we were planning this, I know there are a few people who saw we're trying. Oh wow, Justin Kahn. How'd y'all get him to do that? We said, well, he founded Twitch. Oh, I didn't know that. So
you.
All right. Lauren, did you take